I want to continue with your calls. So much out-of-control breaking news is coming out. I've somehow got to get to, I don't know, the 200 articles or so that are in front of me. I never will, but I'll get to some of it. The top stories at Infowars.com. Bill clears path for 30,000 surveillance drones over U.S. It's your tax money, after all. They're going to squeeze it out of everybody, and they mean to run you out of business. It's part of the hostile takeover by the globalist. Reports out British Special Forces enter Syria to aid rebels. That's been going on for weeks, but now it's being reported. Global campaign calls for abolishment of Constitution. Newsweek, Time Magazine, BBC, Associated Press, Financial Times, CNN, New York Times. It's just unbelievable treason. Feds label bulk buying of food a potential terrorist activity publicly. Just every activity is evil. Paul campaign forges ahead with strong Minnesota showing in second place, and national polls are showing him in second place. Democrats evicting TSA from airports could cause new 9/11. That's right. Let us take over or terrorists will get you. It's called terrorism to do that. That's just some of what we've got there. But I've been talking about this quite a bit throughout the first 2 hours, but I want to get to it now. I just want to read the article. And Kurt's adding at the end of the story just a bunch of examples of this. He's got some in the article, but I asked him, I said, add a bunch of examples. He said, but there's so many. I said, just add them. But here is the report right over here. Okay, let's go ahead and get into this report now. This is at Infowars.com. Globalist campaign calls for abolishment of Constitution. And I just want to be clear about this. You can go look it up for yourself. In fact, I think I'm going to have Kurt add that to the article, because that's the specific thing we talked about 30 minutes this morning, and he wrote notes about what I wanted in the article, and then he ended up writing about a bunch of other stuff, because it'd be a 20-page article if he put it all in there. But it is treason to work against your country for a foreign power. It is high treason to be sworn to the Constitution, working in the executive, legislative, or judicial, and to work against the country for a private interest, a corporation, or a government, or a criminal enterprise. That is the definition of high treason. Well, what's globalism? And why do you have high treason laws? Because there's always foreign powers and foreign corporations like the British East India Company, the Dutch East India Company, that did take over countries like India. The British and Dutch East India Companies actually took over India themselves and ran it for several hundred years. Globalism is nothing new. It's a form of colonialism through a corporate elite. And they've learned how to hide themselves, so even if you throw out the government, they're still there. So they've got CNN hosts, they've got Newsweek, Time Magazine, New York Times, all saying it's bad, it's old, other constitutions are better, the UN Constitution's great. Really, read the UN Declaration of Rights. And in Article 29 and 30, they say all these other rights that we say you don't have if the UN says so, or it's for the greater good of the UN. It's got that fine print that we'll do whatever we want, and then look at what the UN does all over the world. And they say, oh yeah, 51% vote to kill a certain group, we do it. In a republic, you can't do that. In a republic, the majority can't get together like in Nazi Germany and persecute a minority. And then they argue that, well, you know, we've never really implemented the Constitution fully. The founders weren't perfect. It's an idea that you build towards. And they act like we're having problems because our Constitution isn't good. Just like they blame capitalism. Capitalism did this. It's time to get rid of it, Davos says, and create a new system run by government that the rich control against the middle class. But again, capitalism didn't do this. Crony capitalism, crony fascism, insiders with government, shutting down their competition, having government sign on to their derivatives fraud. That's what did this. It's good old-fashioned crime. And so when you see Fareed Zakaria and however you pronounce that idiot's name, I've met him again at CNN, the Bilderberg guy that looks like a vampire or something. How do you pronounce his name? Fareed Zakaria? I forget. I don't have it in front of me. The point is that I randomly have seen him 4 or 5 times bashing the Constitution without even hardly ever watching CNN. I mean, he must be like a parrot or a cuckoo clock that just pops out every day and says the same thing. This is a globalist who's openly pushing for all of this. Now, here's the New York Times article. And it says, "We the people loses appeal with people around the world." Sure. It is the nation's founding document and sacred text, being sarcastic. And it's the oldest written national constitution still enforced anywhere in the world. But its influence is waning. In '87, on the Constitution's bicentennial, Time magazine calculated that of the 170 countries that exist today, more than 160 had written charters modestly or directly or indirectly on the U.S. version. A quarter century later, the picture looks very different. And it goes on to badmouth it and put it down. And then you have Ruth Bader Ginsburg yesterday in the news. Headline, "Ginsburg tells Egyptian TV, don't model yours after the Constitution." Remember? We're always hearing, oh, we're going to launch a war under the authority of the UN. We don't need the Constitution. Well, that's illegal. So they've committed all these crimes. They're violating the First Amendment in many respects, the Second Amendment. They're trying to hype police up to go after everything. They're trying to get the courts to do it. There's all these movies I'm seeing where they badmouth the Constitution and they save everybody from the nuke or from the terrorist by violating it, and they're the heroes, and the movie ends with like, the Constitution's garbage. Movies like Law-Abiding Citizen. Movies like Source Code. And again, the movies, the TV, the nonfiction media, all bad-mouthing it. Why? Because it's good. Because it also points out they're criminals. It's like they're a bunch of vampires telling you how bad the sun is. Well, of course, a bunch of vampires. That's what they are, a bunch of parasites, a bunch of globalist crony mafias. It's just, tyranny is just government by mafia, government by criminal. It's very simple. People will kill for $100. Well, will they do even more to get the total control system? And to have all the private jets and government jets and trillions of dollars and nuclear weapons and power and surveillance systems and the power trips they get? And what says they can't do that? Constitution, Bill of Rights, Declaration of Independence. And so they ignore all that while attacking it because at any time you read the Constitution, it says what they're doing is high treason, punishable by being hung by the neck until dead. So, of course, a bunch of criminals. It'd be like bank robbers saying, we don't like anti-bank robbery laws. I mean, it's very simple. And there's a culture now. I see cases all the time where federal or state judge says, don't bring Constitution in court. They're going purely to administrative. We the people loses appeal with people around the world. And it's got weird stuff saying, and the article ends, seriously, you got to read this, saying the Soviet republics had a better system than we did. Go read it. I mean, you cannot make this up. And like Kurt Nimmo this morning is going, this is a serious article. They're saying the Soviet Union was good? I don't understand. And I'm like, it's all meant to be in our face. Soviet good, America bad. And you're like, but it's not a satire article. No. It's not. It's all about throwing it in our face. Constitution says you got to follow the state law. How are they indicting parents for kids being late and saying it's truancy when the code says it isn't? Because they're crooks. They've got a force. They've got an armed force claiming it's legitimate. It's illegitimate under all common law, under common sense. The Union of Soviet Republics was much better than ours, he added, adding, we guaranteed freedom of speech of the press. Big deal. They guaranteed freedom of speech of the press, of street demonstrations and protests. And anyone who is caught trying to suppress criticism of the government will be called to account. And yuppies read this and go, oh, Soviet Union. I mean, we're in cuckoo land here. Well, yeah, we abort babies for convenience. The police wear black uniforms, never a good sign. There's cameras everywhere. The government says they'll secretly arrest us and have us disappear into a black hole. Of course they're going to have the New York Times talking about how great the Soviets are. And again, I'm the bad man because I want our Constitution. We're the extremist. The actual FBI training reports say those that make frequent references to the U.S. Constitution call FBI immediately. That's a quote. Just type in FBI flyer, constitutional terrorist. You'll get news articles about it with a straight face. I've got the training videos. So, I mean, these are criminals, folks. And they're trying to get the local cops and the low-level FBI and military to go, okay, we're allowed to kill people now and arrest them for no reason. Okay, we're allowed to, there's no Constitution. Torture's good. And then the government does it, and they go, well, this is the new way? And they're like, yeah, we all ridicule it. And they're just getting everybody to ridicule it. So people in government go, well, I guess it is bad. See how they do that? Kurt Nemo's article is so important. Get it out to everybody. Globalist campaign calls for abolishment of Constitution. And I'm going to finish up with this, then have a guest on for about 10, 15 minutes, then I will finish with all those that are holding. But Kurt has added at the bottom of the article a bunch of links to where they're attacking the Constitution and just absolutely demonizing the living daylights out of it. We'll be right back. And the treason was so huge and so blasphemous, everyone was in awe that the president was violating his oath completely publicly, rubbing our faces in it, sitting over a foreign global corporate power with its own military. And saying he turns his office over to it. I mean, could President Obama or Reagan say, I'm going to now say that I'm under the Chinese government and I get my authority to bomb Libya because the Chinese government said I could? That's exactly, listen to me, this is big. That's exactly what he did when he said, I got my authority to attack Libya, but it's not an attack, to help Libya from the UN. And Congress said, well, we're warmongers. We're all paid for by the same groups. We'd like to give you the authorization, but you got to get it from us. And Obama said, I don't get nothing from you. I get my declaration from the UN. And I'm sending this letter out that I did this for the UN for their credibility. They got credibility. They gave me the power, not you. And 4 current Supreme Court justices have shot their mouths off in the last year saying the same thing. And before that, always at least 4. Since I've been in the newsroom, 17 years, it comes across my desk every few months with a Supreme Court justice saying, get rid of the Bill of Rights and Constitution. We should rule according to the UN. I mean, they should be arrested immediately. The Congress should move to impeach them, to remove them in that civil trial, and then issue a congressional indictment, and they should be tried by a federal grand jury should bill them, and that's the end of it. I mean, that's what you do. Oh, you're in the Supreme Court, and you're saying you don't follow our law, you work for a foreign power? Handcuffs. But see, before it's like, we don't want to get rid of the Constitution. Don't be a conspiracy theorist. Oh, no, we're not violating it. Now it's like, get rid of it. We're going to secretly arrest you and take your guns. It's trendy. It's trendy.